So I was one of the first engineers at Yahoo back in the late 1900s. Everyone can declare that they're an expert. There's no inspector. There's no city that's governing the regulations on how things are done. That's why there's so much garbage. I think 99% of the stuff that's being said by SEO experts is just pure garbage. My career for the last 30 some years has been being able to tie all these data sources to be able to drive sales for local service businesses.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI SEO Insider podcast. I'm Raulf, an AI and SEO expert and the founder of Boulder SEO Marketing. This podcast is where we cut through the AI hype and where I talk to people who are getting real results. AI is changing everything, how we create content, how we rank in search, and how we connect with customers. If you're a marketing professional, business owner, SEO expert, or agency owner trying to figure out how AI fits into your strategy, you're in the right place. My guests and I talk about implementations, results, and practical tactics you can use immediately. Let's get into it. Dennis, I can't believe we're actually making this happen. I think we've been trying for a year.
Yes.
Cool. Hey, Dennis, I'm super excited to have you here. Dennis, I'm going to let you introduce yourself in a second here. Dennis, you've been in the search engine world for a very long time, probably nearly as long as I am. Yeah. Oh my God. Tell us who you are, and then can you tell us how you got into search engineering and what led you to found Blitzmetrics? But for those of you who don't know you, who are you?
So I was one of the first engineers at Yahoo back in the late 1900s. So as a search engine engineer, my job was to protect the search results from people trying to trick us. Those people are called SEOs. You know, my buddy Bruce Clay and other folks invented the term SEO. We were doing this before the term even existed. And in particular, I was running analytics, internal analytics across all the different properties that we had at Yahoo. So we had shopping, sports, finance, travel, mail, personal, small business, horoscope, all these different properties. And with all the data that we were collecting, it was larger than any commercial databases could even handle. So we had to build our own operating system to be able to process all those files. And from those files, we built these different custom profiles, these buckets for ad targeting. So the data that we had drove different segments that like a Verizon would have if they're launching the new, iPhone 17 or something like that. Or Ford wanted to run something on the Ford F-150, or maybe a local plumber or veterinarian wanted to run ads. And so the ad-driven side, as you know, is what supports the free side of being able to use the search engine. And what's neat being able to see across both of those. And my career for the last 30 some years has been being able to tie all these data sources to be able to drive sales for local service businesses. So instead of, I built a career helping, like the Nikes and the Starbuckses and the guys who have thousands of locations. And now we're helping people who have just one location. And we're creating thousands of jobs for young adults who are using AI tools. Everything's AI now to be able to drive sales for those local service businesses.
Awesome. And we'll talk about that more. All right. So now it makes sense, right? When you were on the other side 30 years ago, that's when I got into SEO. So at Digimarcon, one thing that, stood out to me, you made that strong distinction between being a search engine engineer versus an SEO person. And I think I agree with you a lot. Sadly, a lot of people in our industry, they try to game the system. So I guess I don't consider myself an SEO person, but I assume that's the main difference, right? Do you want to add anything to that? But it's pretty clear to me why you said that now.
Well, if you want to buy a car, or especially like a used car, would you trust a mechanic who actually works on the car, the people who actually build the car, like the manufacturer? Or would you trust the guy who's wearing the nice tie in the showroom and talks about the different cars and makes a commission, the salesperson?
Yeah.
And all these other people out there, the majority of them that claim to do SEO are salespeople who have never actually worked on the car, who have never built a car, right? We are the manufacturer. That's
Yeah.
where I came from. And so we train people in a hands-on way. And if you don't know how to build websites, if you're not an engineer, and just because you spin up WordPress, that doesn't make you an engineer, right? Just because you even fiddle with plugins doesn't make you an SEO expert. Think about what's actually required to understand what is Google. Google is creating the knowledge graph, and if you don't understand how those objects fit together and the entities like we talked about in the different digital
Yeah.
marketing series, then how can you claim to be able to help someone rank better in Google just because they don't know anything? Because, some mom comes in and you say, hey, you should buy the station wagon, says the sales guy who looks really nice, right? But if the car breaks down, do they understand how it works? That's the difference.
Yeah, so no, it totally makes sense now. I guess, I mean, we're very similar. We got into SEO like at the very beginning, right? And we both do trainings. Certainly would love to hear more about trainings later on in the conversation. So I started my business by offering trainings. I was so into this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to teach other people how to do it. And I guess this is how we sell, in quotes, right? We don't sell, we educate. And we have such a wealth of knowledge that I think we have a massive advantage over SEO people. Um, hey, I guess we are competitors. We both do local SEO. My agency, Boulder SEO Marketing, we dominate Colorado. I like to do business with local businesses. Why don't we talk about local SEO foundation? As you mentioned just a minute ago. So at DigiMarcon, you showed us how to claim a Google Knowledge Panel live on stage. I love
Mhm.
the live sessions that you do. It
Yeah.
sucks when the internet sucks, right? Why is owning your knowledge panel more important than being verified, let's say, on social media platforms?
So for local business, you have to stand out among all the other plumbers in Broomfield, among all the other roofers in Boulder, Colorado, right? And to win, Google has published the Quality Rater Guidelines, as you know, this
Yeah.
108-page document every year that basically shows you need to create what they call helpful content and satisfy what they call EEAT, which used to be EAT, but they added the extra E, which is for experience. So if you have real experience, what does that mean? Real experience tied to EAT is if you're in Boulder, I need to see that you're connected with other businesses in Boulder, other people in Boulder. I need to see your crews in the surrounding areas of Arvada and Bloomfield and Superior, maybe all the way down into Denver, right? I need to see that you have customers and they're leaving good reviews and they're also from those particular cities. I need to see information that is specific, that has a high signal gain, is a signal noise ratio, right? In other words, not something that's just generated by ChatGPT or any kind of regurgitation. If you have those items, then all of those pieces of information tied to that object, which is your business, those are citations, and that creates something that's called a confidence score. So every object, as we know in the knowledge graph, well, if it exists in the knowledge graph, and if it's not confused with other objects in the knowledge graph, which is the big problem almost every local business has. But if we can figure out this is Chris Raulf, this is Boulder SEO, this is the plumbing business in Broomfield. What information is associated with that? And most people, they've not taken the care to tie those pieces of information together properly so that Google has a clear picture on who you are. So if I search in the knowledge graph for your name as a person, for your business, for a place, for a product, for anything that's an object, a noun. That's what the knowledge graph is. It's a bunch of objects of which they're connected in a certain way, and there's information like pictures and reviews and social profiles, like entity objects, right? Every object has there's objects associated with any particular entity, right? Your business can have a Facebook and a YouTube and a Twitter and a blog and a GMB, all of these things, right? There's such confusion because of all these people doing social media or doing AI or whatever, that it actually makes it harder for the search engine engineer to understand who you are, right? Because it's just creating links from Pakistan or generating lots of content through some AI tool, but that's not connected to where you are in Boulder as a plumber, right? And so people keep thinking, I'm going to hire these SEO people who are not in Boulder, who don't understand plumbing, and they're somehow going to help me rank magically in Google. And you can see for those of us who have an understanding of what the knowledge, we see why that's ridiculous, right?
Let me, when I talk with a potential customer, I quickly do a backlink audit using one of the tools I like to use, SE ranking. Do you still do that? A lot of people, they come to us and they self-diagnose and they say, hey, we have a backlink problem. Either they think they have a bad backlink profile, or they need more backlinks. Tell me real quick about, how do you address that when a local business comes to you, they self-diagnose, so you identify that they have a ton of backlinks from Pakistan, China, wherever. Talk to me about backlinks for local businesses.
So let's say that you have an electrician that comes in, right? Well, the electrician understands that to be an electrician, you have to be certified. You can't just watch some YouTube videos and say that you're an electrician, right? So there has to be a clear process that people can follow. In digital marketing and AI and SEO, everyone can declare that they're an expert. There's no inspector. There's no city that's governing the regulations on how things are done. That's why there's so much garbage. I think 99% of the stuff that's being said by SEO experts is just pure garbage, because no one is validating this. People just, it's witchcraft. It's, all these people with hocus pocus and Ouija boards and witch doctors and this kind of thing. But think of it this way. Imagine, Chris, you and I, we operated a hospital and had an emergency room. And people come into the emergency room and they're bleeding. There's a gunshot wound. They fell when they were skiing, maybe they went to Vail for the morning and they fell on their, broke their collarbone doing a flip or something like that on a black diamond. They come into the emergency room, they're in pain. And we as doctors, we have a process. We scan them, right? We take their blood, we do the MRI, the X-ray, blood pressure, all of these things, right? And from there, we do a diagnosis. Well, it looks like, Chris, according to this, you have a, broken collarbone, your vitamin C level is low, all these things about you, right? And because of that, here's the treatment plan that we recommend. And then when the patient comes in and says, to your point, well, I'm going to self-diagnose. I think, I have a heart attack, and therefore we need to have heart surgery. But our data shows, actually, you just ate spicy Mexican food and you have heartburn, not a heart attack. When people come into the hospital, they don't argue with the doctor because they came in. They trust us. We didn't go knock on doors. I have a blog post I wrote called Why Emergency Room Surgeons Don't Go Knock on Doors, right? Because people come to us. So if you are someone who does SEO or digital marketing or AI, whatever you want to call it, whatever the latest thing is, and you actually do good work, your reputation does the work for you because people talk about you. We just got 2 more clients today. They were referrals. One is a painting company. I think they have like 90 locations, something like that. Another one is a software company and home services. And these people, they come to us, right? We're not out there marketing and we don't have salespeople. They come to us because we have demonstrated expertise. We publish exactly how we do things. You saw when we were in Denver a couple days ago, we took examples from the audience and we pulled up their data and put it on the screen and showed, here's what's going on, right? Imagine you go to a conference and it's full of obese people and you say, step on the scale, right? And then people get mad at the scale. What's the data? So we're not here to convince anybody. Do you think in the emergency room, if you are surgeons in the emergency room, specialty medicine, emergency room, heart surgeons, lung surgeons, other kinds of surgeons, do we ever have to convince the patient that they need surgery? If that patient wants to argue, well, I can get that surgery for a lot cheaper from the witch doctor across the street. Go over there. Go get the cheapest surgeon you can find.
Yeah, it's just interesting, and I'm sure you deal with it as well, like the self-diagnosis. It's very interesting.
That's not an issue for us because we say, here's our framework. This is how we do things. If you don't want to do it this way, you can do it whatever way you want, right? We're not here to beg, to try to convince you that this is the right way. If you want to jump off the building and you think you can fly, go for it. We'll tell you, you probably won't be able to. But if you believe you can, because your friend said, you get the pair of magic wings, go for it, right? But I think it's a huge waste of time for people who are competent to try to convince people of something they don't want. If a fat person doesn't want to lose weight or they don't think they're fat, why would we try to tell them, hey, Chris, you're fat? They don't want to hear that. There is nothing to people who want help, right? We're not a salesperson, not going door to door trying to convince people of things. That at least that's not our I know salespeople, they want to close as many people. They want to, try to reach as many people and try to sell products, right? I get it.
Cool. Let's move on to um, again, knowledge graph, right? Talk
Yeah.
about knowledge graph, confidence scores. How does building a strong entity presence in Google's knowledge graph impact local search? Quickly recap that, and it's clearly extremely important, but just quickly recap that.
So if you want to rank in search engines, then you need to generate a signal that they understand, that they can see, a corroborating signal across many places. So let's say, you have this across your Facebook, YouTube, website, personal brand site, Google business profile, and you do some kind of processing, right? Maybe you have a VA, maybe you have an agency, maybe you hire Chris to do all of this. All of it comes back to here. If you have real proof. So if you're a local service business, then I should see proof in terms of your customers talking about you, in terms of your crews that are out and about, in terms of you as the figurehead, the face of that business, making connections, taking care of customers, hiring new employees, celebrating birthdays. If that signal is there, it's going to be seen across all these social profiles, all of the directory listings on your website, on your Google business, on your YouTube, which is arguably a social network and a search engine at the same time. When all of these signals are occurring from the raw information, then that creates citations. Those citations connect back to that particular entity. It's associated with you as a person. It's associated with your company, right? That's another entity. It's associated with, if you're a plumber, maybe you work with a real estate agent and they're the ones who keep referring you to business, right? Or you work with a roofer, right? Because when you're a plumber, you're at someone's house, you notice the roof is, broken because there was a hurricane and you refer a business to each other, right? Maybe your son is playing soccer and you're the coach of the soccer team and you're connected to these other parents. Those are all different signals that could create citations back to you as that business or you as that person. So most people don't understand this. This is just so basic and fundamental.
Yeah.
We understand networking, right? You're networking, you're building your name in Boulder. You're not trying to be known in Chicago or Los Angeles. If you're a plumber, you want to be known as a plumber. There's different kinds of things that plumbers do with the water heaters, with the clogged up toilets, with, gas lines or whatever. And when you show proof of what you do in the city that you do it, all of that builds strength into that particular object, which is your business, which has an ID that Google assigns, right? You, Chris Raulf, you have an ID that Google assigns you. And the strength of that ID, of the citations of the information associated with Chris Raulf, that number is called a confidence score, right? It's not how many links, it's not how many pieces of content, it's the strength, like some pieces of content, like being written up in the Daily Camera, right? Which is a Boulder newspaper. That's a great signal, very relevant to Boulder, as opposed to the Denver Post, which is or the New York Times, or, not quite as relevant, but maybe higher authority. So we're trying to show relevancy in that particular geo-vertical. And so it's not that you want to increase the confidence score. It's not that you want to have more links for the sake of it. Oh, I can buy, 100 VA60 links on Fiverr for $100. Yes, but Google can see right through that. Guarantee you, I could see right through that. When I was doing this at Yahoo and we trained up a lot of the people at Google, I could see right through that. The SEO people think, oh yeah, but according to whatever your favorite SEO tool is, we've generated this many links. Do you really think Google can't tell what's bogus or not?
And
I would
yet,
the actual data. Google's real data in Search Console, Google's data in the Knowledge Graph, data in Google Analytics, data inside Google Ads. That's the real source of truth.
yeah, I completely agree. We could talk about this forever. Why don't let's move on, different topic here. Content marketing with AI agents. So you, at Digimarcon, you demonstrated AI agents writing blog posts and linking between articles automatically. How should local businesses think about content creation now that AI can do so much of the heavy lifting? And obviously, I mean, this podcast is geared toward more like local, smaller businesses. Keep it higher level. It was definitely a more advanced session, or what you showed there.
Yeah.
How can people think about doing that?
I'll keep it really simple.
Yeah.
I'll assume that you're a small business. Maybe you're like a roofer and you do 2 to $10 million in just one city, right? You don't have a whole marketing team. This AI thing is very confusing because AI can do all these things, right? The robots are going to kill everybody according to Hollywood. Here's what you need to know. In this first phase, to produce, your team needs to produce videos and photos and all this proof showing that you guys do what you do in the city that you do. That's it. If this is here, then all the other subsequent processing of that video or pictures or testimonials or things on your phone, the processing of that can be done by different AI agents. Each one like a person, like a virtual assistant in these different roles, right? You can these ChatGPT agents, like we were demonstrating.
Yeah.
When we train them to do certain things, they're just like a human. Just like a human, they do the work. They can log in. They make excuses. They lie to you. They basically call in sick by claiming that they're done with the task when they didn't actually finish it. But when it gets processed and then posted, because this raw content can be posted to a Facebook or Google business profile or to your Twitter or to your YouTube, or like I showed, right? Creating blog posts that link between different sites that we have, right? These are like people. We give them names even, right? We have Jennifer who grades our articles, and Ethan gathers positive mentions, and Christopher is the one who does the local audit. And then we have humans too, but we have a mix of them inside what we call this content factory process. So you, as the local business, you only need to be here in this box. I should probably use, do I have the red? I'll use green. You live inside this box. You focus on this box here, showing proof that, getting reviews, all these things, real proof, pictures, doing the work. AI agents are eventually, not yet, eventually going to be able to cover this entire thing, including running your advertising, doing the reporting, optimizing, answering the phone, all of these things, right? But think of it, what is the thing that AI can't do? They can't actually be up on the roof. Not yet. They can't actually do the plumbing. They can't do these different things. So people who are afraid about AI and the robots and the self-driving cars, the people who are getting eliminated are the digital marketing agencies. They don't know that. That's like a lot of Uber drivers. They don't think that Uber's not trying to replace them, right? They absolutely are, guarantee you. There was an interview with the CEO of Uber, and he talked about this. He said it might take 10 years, but for sure they're doing it. So think of AI agents as something that a human could do. What is it that a human can do that doesn't require actually being there, actually, being a plumber, carpenter, landscaper, doing the thing that the AI cannot do,
Let me
physical thing.
ask you, so we actually built our own AI tool, BSM Copilot. It sits on top of the language models, right? So basically it does that. When I speak at conferences, I always poll people or like agency owners like me. It's like, hey, are you guys doing things like this? I am shocked. Usually it's maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 that take advantage of this incredible technology. And I completely agree with you. I think, people like us, we have such a great advantage. I think we get it. Obviously we implement this stuff. I think a lot of agencies are going out of business. Well, what's your take or I guess advice to our competition that's not there yet, that don't get it?
So most agencies are salespeople. And what a salesperson wants to do is be able to sell. So think of the car salesman.
Yeah.
They want to talk to as many people, try to convince them this car, this Ford is better than the Tesla is better. They're there to convince. But you and I, Chris, we're the actual mechanics. We actually work on the cars. We actually build the cars. If something goes wrong, we know how to go in and fix the engine, right? So agencies that are driven just by salespeople that are trying to convince, that's just like what the internet has done for car pricing. I have some friends that own car dealerships, and they tell me, yeah, these customers, they come in, they have everything already printed out. They know what the price needs to be, including all the different options and the rebates and all that. They don't need a salesperson. They say, this is the price I'm going to pay for this kind of car with these particular sorts of features, right? This is what I want. So what is the value of the salesperson? The salesperson is there to try to get more, sell to grandma who doesn't know any better to get full retail price, right? But those of us who understand how this works, if you're a local business, you probably know more about AI and ChatGPT than that agency person who's trying to sell you the services. Why? Because the agency person is just selling the whole time. They're not actually hands-on implementing it. And what you see us doing, Chris, you and me, we're actually doing it. It's like a live cooking class. You see me cooking, right? I'm not just Gordon Ramsay on TV. I'm actually cooking. And I want people to follow along as I'm doing it. Not just talk about it philosophically, oh, what is the future of AI? No, let's practically do it right now. And that's why you see me pull out the phone. I open up ChatGPT. You see, it's logging into my YouTube. I made 2 YouTube videos yesterday. You can see it's logging in and saying, hey, what title do you want to give it? And I'm like, this is good, and it's making all these changes. I'm literally doing it. See, repurpose the podcast, fix the video, do the transcript, respond to the 404 issue, like all of these different things, right? We're literally doing it. So agencies that aren't made up primarily of people that do implementation, it's just a matter of time. If you're just a salesperson, I mean, there's always going to be some people like in the nonprofit space or in government where they're slow, then you could sell them services, right? But if you want to be known for performance, if you're there to make the phone ring for a local service business, you better be an implementer and you
Yeah.
better jump in now, like what you and I are teaching, Chris.
Yeah, it's luckily, I think, we're at the beginning of this gold rush. And I think, we're in a very fortunate situation based on, I guess our background and time that we put into this so far. Let's talk about, let's just very briefly, you mentioned repurposing content from social media posts into blog articles. How do you ensure that AI generated content from social posts meets Google's quality standards? Like, do we have to worry about that?
I think if you start with raw ingredients, if you start with things that actually happened, then the repurposing, I mean, fine. Maybe it's going to have M dashes and too many emojis or look like AI writing. But from my discussions with engineers at Google, what really matters is the real experience here. If this underlying raw material is true, you don't really need a lot of processing. Like I started a new YouTube channel not even 2 months ago, and it's taken off. And it's just raw video. Here, I'm doing whiteboard videos. This is actually what I did this morning, right? We record the whiteboard video. I post it raw. It gets shared on Facebook and LinkedIn and other sorts of places. And I mean, the AI is looking at our analytics. The AI is looking at our channel saying, hey, of the 8 episodes I've recorded, which ones are doing better and why? And what should I do for my next episode? Yeah, the AI is advising me, but the AI is not generating it out of thin air. What most people are doing is they're skipping this most critical step, this first box, and then they're just jumping straight to generating stuff out of thin air. That's how you get in trouble, right? But most of these AI SEO expert people, they don't live in that city. They don't understand what it is to be like a plumber, right? So they just use AI to generate 10 ways on how to fix a broken toilet. Of course, that's AI generated. Of course, that'll get you in trouble, right? Of course, that will start to fit what Google calls scaled content abuse.
Yeah. Man, I have so many questions, but we're gonna run out of time. Why don't we jump into but let's talk about agent mode a little bit more, because I think it's such a big thing and most people don't know what it is, how to use it. So you showed ChatGPT in agent mode, logging into your website and publishing content. For someone who's never used agent mode, well, what's the first thing they should automate? Or can you just give a recap what it is and where are we going with this?
So most people use ChatGPT just talking to it, and it's a great advisor. You can use it like a search engine. You can talk to it about various things. It's very helpful. But agent mode is you want it to actually log into a system and do something. So agent mode, I love having it do stuff on websites or on YouTube. I wouldn't give it access to QuickBooks, although I see people are doing some stuff. And if you try to do that in agent mode and it comes across like a bank account number or social security number, say, oh, no, I'm not allowed to touch that, right? It'll stop. So it knows when it's doing something sensitive. So you really can't get too far on that because it has these built-in sort of protections. But agent mode for marketing sorts of tasks, like I have it edit videos, I have it write titles and descriptions and actually log into our YouTube channel and do these things. It opens up its own computer, And that computer has a browser with tabs and memory and a mouse, and it clicks around, and it's visually looking at your screen. You give it instructions, you talk to it like a virtual assistant. So if you had a team of people who are experts in content marketing and video and social media and advertising and all these different things that don't require a physical presence, but can be done through someone else, let's just say think of it as like a very intelligent VA from the Philippines, maybe, right? And as long as you give it instruction and it's very clear, not everything at once, not one VA to do everything, but you have a team of people in different positions along the way, then that's what you think of as agent mode. Agent mode I've been waiting for this for years, right? Because before it would do stuff and then I would have to be the agent. Or I'd have to pass the output of the blog post, or I have to pass it to a VA to then be able to actually implement. But now in agent mode, that includes things like, taking information from one place to another, like you would through a Zapier or a Make or an N8N or LangChain, whatever your favorite orchestration tool is, or going in, any system that you'd have to log in and do something. That's what agent mode is in ChatGPT. Now, the thing is, don't just turn on agent mode. You need to figure out, let's say it's content, right? You're going to process the content. You get it all the way up to the point when you need to log in, right? Or it needs to log in and post the content or make an edit. You only turn on agent mode when you're ready for that to happen. If you turn on agent mode in the beginning, it fires up a computer, it's ready to start working, but then no, I'm still figuring out the blog post I'm going to write. Okay, well, it's too early to turn on agent mode. That's what I see a lot of people doing. It consumes more resources, it's slower, it gets confused, the memory runs out because of the context window, all of these silly things happen, right? But just think of agent mode as you have a very loyal worker, like a $3 an hour virtual assistant in the Philippines, not a $10 or $20 an hour one, because they're not able to quite reason and think to the level that we want quite yet for various reasons. But that's what it is to have an agent.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are too lazy to put in the effort that it takes to set up the foundation, right? To use agent mode properly, to get everything out of it that we need. And I'm shocked by it. I see so many people not taking advantage of this technology. So I'm blown away. Why don't we, let's move on into, hey, let's talk a little bit about off-page optimization, a little bit more about link building.
Yeah.
Let me see. Good question here. So you demonstrated linking between articles on your own sites. You got a bunch of sites, right, to build topical authority. How does, and they're not private blog networks. How does internal linking between your own properties compare to earning backlinks from external sites?
So we are very lucky because we control the largest free ebook site
Yeah.
on the internet with 500,000 visits a day, domain rating 75, 12 million backlinks for many, many years. My own site has a ton of SEO power because I've been in the media many times. So every time I've been on CNN, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, real links, not the fake stuff that PR agencies pay for, that creates more juice and authority that comes to my personal brand site or to the different agencies that we coach. We coach a lot of agencies and we have admin across all of their sites because they trust us. We have admin across a lot of plumbing and landscaping and HVAC, right? Because across these different agencies, we have access to all the underlying sites. Obviously, we're not going to do anything nefarious. So if we have one guy, let's say Anthony's Lawn Care and Landscaping, and he's in Bloomington, Indiana, and he's talking about identifying weeds, and he's got this great article identifying different kinds of weeds, just an informational, not selling services or landscaping necessarily, but just a good informational article. And we have another landscaper in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And they're also talking about some particular kind of weed that this article doesn't talk about. Then that would be helpful to the user who's looking at this weed identification guide, that we link to this other guide or this other article on the other site that's actually really helpful about this. Like, why would I try to repeat that? This other guy already made the videos already on this particular kind of weed. So I just include that from here, right? And then there's another guy in Chicago talking about how do I cut down trees? Well, this particular kind of elm tree or fir tree, you have to use a chainsaw in a certain way, right? Because every tree is a little bit different in the way you cut it down. And then they're going to link to another article where they have a friend in Louisville, Kentucky, who's also cut down that same kind of tree, right? So what we're doing is we're creating links where it's actually helpful. And we're using the AI to look across all the different sites that are in our network. Oh, it's not a private link network or PBN or any of that. And just trying to say, hey, where can we actually create the best experience? We already have the Google Analytics. We already have the SEO data. We have all the CRM data. And then we're creating links, not because we're trying to pass juice or because we're just trying to like SEO trick our way there, but because it actually makes a particular piece of content more helpful, right? So we have training on how to use ChatGPT agent, like we're talking about here. And when there's other people in our network that are going through our training, like our AI apprentice program, we have a ton of young adults, as you've seen. I like to fly them out to the people can see them, right? And see they're real, they're not robots, right? So then when someone else says, oh yeah, I followed what these guys teach and I opened up ChatGPT and I implemented this and I have this whole example and I built a whole website using these techniques. If they're a great example, I'll link from our authority article, our main article on how to use ChatGPT agent, and I'll link to their example because it's a great example and it deserves to be linked
Yeah.
to. Now, the sum of all these links, which, sometimes I'm like, you know what? This one thing I just heard from Sam McLeod on how he's able to use the GoDaddy API to provision domain names for people's names using these different conditions and all that. Like, that's really cool. But unless that exists as an article, I can't link to it, right? It could be a YouTube video. It could be a Zoom call. We have thousands, Chris, we have thousands of Zoom calls, right? And then we turn those into SOPs, which then get turned into articles, which then allows us to link between them, not in a nefarious way, but in what's actually truly helpful. So that way we never get busted. We never do anything that Google would say, oh, these guys are just trying to pass juice from all the high-powered sites they control.
Very smart, very smart, very fortunate. Let's talk quickly. Last question on links here. So, did you mark on you analyze backlinks? One of the participants, you found a lot of spam links pointing to that site. What should somebody do when they discover low quality sites linking to them? Just quick answer here.
First off, you don't need to do anything most of the time because you used to be able to buy links, as you know, called Google Bowling. You could screw over your competitor by buying a bunch of porn links or gambling links. And that used to hurt people. Now, those links, you don't need to file a disavow request. You don't need to do all this other stuff. But if you have a bunch of these links that appear to be authoritative because they have a high domain rating or whatnot, but they're not relevant, it may be because you've hired an SEO agency or you've gone to Fiverr to buy links, or you've hired someone who's an SEO expert, and they may swear up and down that they don't buy garbage links, but then they subbed it out to one person, and that person subbed it out, and you trace it all the way down, and someone was buying links. So it's very easy to spot when people are buying fake links, right? So just don't do it. But if
Yeah.
you're not buying fake links, and some competitors trying to hurt you by buying all the spam links or all these other links are there because they're trying to sell you links, you can ignore all that.
Perfect, perfect. All right, let's very briefly talk about social media. To be honest, I'm not a fan of social media. I don't know if you know, but we lost our house in a wildfire about 4 years ago, and it killed my desire to put content up on I hadn't posted on Facebook since then. Just like, I don't want to show how happy I am. I do understand social media is critically important for SEO. It's one of those pillars that, you have to do. For local businesses that hate social media, what's the minimum viable social media strategy they need to support their SEO?
Well, first off, I don't believe in posting on social media for the sake of it. Because some
Yeah.
people say, well, you got to post once every day on Facebook and twice a week on LinkedIn. None of that goes anywhere. No one sees it just because you're wishing people happy Halloween or Valentine's Day or today's the Veterans Day. Like no one cares, right? That's just it's a waste of money that a social media person will just say, hey, you should do this just because the answer is, well, I can't not be on social media. I need to be on social media. Social media is so important. And now I got to reach the young adults on TikTok and all this. Yes, here's the way to think about it. Social media is both a place you can post stuff and do marketing, which I think is mostly a waste of time. And it's also where you can capture what your customers and team members and people in the community are doing. So if you capture someone, they checked in at your office, they said something good about, someone just had a baby, then you can congratulate them, you can honor them. That's being part of the community. That also gives you content that you can then repurpose into other channels. So I see social media as a place where you are listening, you're gathering positive mentions. Like Chris, when you and we speak at DigimarCon, we always get lots of LinkedIn posts where people
Yeah.
say, I learned so much from Dennis's session, all that. That's social media on LinkedIn. That's raw content I can now use in our training and education and marketing and all of that. Although, as opposed to, I'm just posting on social media like a robot using AI tools that supposedly are so good, the other AI tools can't tell it's AI. Waste of time. Use social media to actually build relationships.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And as you know, Digimarcon, I wrote 2 roundups for each day because it was a fascinating conference.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every presentation, including yours. And, then it makes sense, right? So the right way, I actually enjoyed writing those recaps, and I'll link them below in the in this podcast here. Hey, we're nearing the end of nearly the hour here. Hey, why don't we talk about the future? So you're getting a significant amount of traffic from AI search engines like ChatGPT and Perplexity.
Yeah.
How should local businesses optimize for AI search engines versus traditional Google? Tell me about GEO, generative engine optimization. That's the term that I like to use.
So right now, when people talk about GEO or AI SEO or whatever term they want to make up, it really is 90% the same as what you would do to rank in Google, because these LLMs are using the same data sources. But the difference is going to be there's more trust in forums. There's more trust in Bing, for example, which is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft basically owns OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT. So there's a minor consideration. So are you going to do things to try to rank differently on Bing versus Google? Probably not, unless you're a really big company where it matters. So I think the majority of all the noise around AI SEO or GEO is just noise, because the foundation that you need, which will happen, like we had 55,000 visits from the AI engines in just the last couple of weeks. And I showed that on screen. I showed what they were looking for because the content was actually helpful. That same content ranks in Google. If it ranks in Google, it'll rank in ChatGPT, right? You could argue that you can game ChatGPT in certain ways because you can trick it because it doesn't have the understanding of the knowledge graph, because Google built this whole knowledge graph. So it has a stronger understanding of what is true and what is not true. ChatGPT is a word, an LLM is a word probability calculator. It's just generating the next probabilistic word, right? That's what an LLM is. So it doesn't understand truth. It's just looking at what is the most popular thing. So yes, there is that slight difference, but I think they're going to close that gap really quick. So if you're building towards the long term, instead of trying to take advantage of a little loophole that might last for a few more months, focus on your actual reputation, because that's how you win in search, social, and AI at the same time.
On that note, I had a very interesting exchange over LinkedIn with a potential new customer. And they're like, "Hey, Chris, I heard that it's very easy to game ChatGPT. Can you help me with that?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" So no, we don't do that. It's a long-term thing, right? So people think this you can game it. You probably can. It's
You
not a
can't.
good.
It doesn't last. Yeah.
It's not going to last. All right. Last couple of questions here. So you're building AI agents that can log into multiple systems and execute workflows. Where do you see this going in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months for local SEO? And I know things are changing every day, but where do you see this going next 6 to 12 months?
So these VAs that are currently doing the work right now, these agents are not very good. They have limited memory.
Yeah.
They run out of power after 10 or 15 minutes. And they get confused. They need a lot of training and reinforcement where you tell it the same thing, and sometimes you have to say it 3 or 4 times. They make mistakes. They lie to you. So it's 6 to 12 months for local businesses. I think you're going to basically move from a $3 an hour VA to like a $20 US person, right? Or, a $50,000, $60,000 a year basic, understands culture, understands your company. You can give it instructions and it can take it a little bit further. Maybe hard to, guess with AI, but my guess is like within 18 months or so, this entire component will be automatable with just light human review with us as managers. So you own that local service business. You can look at what these workers are doing, right? And I think that eventually get to the point where you'll have AI managers, and those managers manage all the other assistants. Are we there yet? No, because the underlying assistants aren't smart enough. Context window is 300,000 tokens for ChatGPT, which is about 300 pages worth of stuff. So it quickly fills up and it gets confused, which then it starts forgetting everything else you talked about earlier, because anytime you add something new, it drops the earlier conversations, right? Which creates a problem. Sam Altman talked about it last week. He said, yes, we're trying to do everything we can to increase the context window, which is our memory, understanding the larger body of knowledge. I think like we've been publishing books, and it's frustrating because we can only publish or edit one chapter at a time using our AI editors in agent mode. If we try to give it the entire book, even if it's 150, 200 pages, it quickly gets confused. You might say, yeah, but you can take 300 pages, right? The context window, 300,000 tokens, right? Yes, but 300,000 tokens is the total sum of every conversation. Like, so the stuff you put in, that automatically, you dumped in a 150-page thing, you automatically ate up half the conversation. Then you put in a transcript in another video, then you have a couple conversations, then you've already maxed out the context window, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of smarter agents. You're going to see a lot of MCP where agents can talk to one another and integrate with different systems. I think that's less than a year out.
Well, Google I think they open source their A2A protocol where, it's happening as we speak, right? So, and then I think, sooner or later, we're going to reach some form of AGI, which a lot of people are freaking out about. I'm actually looking forward to it so that we can take full advantage of these tools. Right now, it's very limiting what we can do with them. I guess people like you and me, like we're taking as much advantage of, limited technology right now, but it's already amazing, right? So that being said, last question. If someone walks away from this conversation and implements just one thing next week or today or tomorrow, what should that be?
They go to ChatGPT and say, based on every conversation we've ever had and what you know about me, what are things that I might not know about my business? And what are things I might not know about myself? And based on that, how can I become a better business owner? How can I become a better marketer? How can I grow in my business? Tell me what are the questions I need to be asking versus me trying to figure out what I need to do. Tell me, what can I give you to feed in my relationships, my CRM, my marketing, my data on what is actually working or not, so that you can then prompt me on what I need to give you so that you can do a good job. You ask that one question, you put it in expert mode on ChatGPT or put it on Pro, right? You can use T5 Pro for deeper reasoning. You'll be surprised at the quality of the answer that you get, especially if you talk to ChatGPT a lot of times, because it's always polite and it's very nice. It's like, you talk to a friend who's always going to like kind of agree with you, but meanwhile, they kind of notice. But until you ask them, give it to me straight, Chris. Like, I'm willing to take criticism. What am I missing here? Don't just compliment me all day. Tell me, what am I missing? You'll be surprised at what answer it gives you.
Awesome. Love it. Dennis, I greatly admire your knowledge, you sharing, a lot of information at the conference where we speak, where we meet. How can somebody track you down? Tell me if you have websites, URLs, how can people find you?
You want to find me? Connect with me through Google. Google my name, Google Dennis Yu, and then this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a full knowledge panel. And that's what I want all of you guys to have. If I Google your name, I want to see all of this stuff here. I want to see all the pictures and videos. This was on our plane I told you, we barely made that flight.
Yeah.
Right? To go, we left the conference. The plane was leaving in 38 minutes, right? All of these, I want to see. They want to know my net worth. Here's my social profiles. I think all of you guys should have this. And if you want to connect with me on any of these, you can click on that. It's me. It's not an AI. It's not a virtualist. It's actually me. I reply to people. Might take me a day or two, but I always reply. You know
Yeah,
this, Chris.
you're
Why do you?
super fast in replying. We're also going to put the links below in the description fields of wherever you watch this information. Dennis, I can't believe we actually made this happen. I think I
Finally.
hit the recording button. I think we're good. Thank you so much. This was a
Thank you,
blast.
Chris.
I really enjoyed speaking with you. And, hope maybe we'll do this again in like 6 to 12 months. See how the world has changed. If we're still here, we have not AI'd us away. Cool. Dennis, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for listening. Again, Chris Raulf here, AI SEO expert and the host of the AI SEO Insider. We'll talk to you next time. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.